No surprise. The United Nations is again planning to release a report which attacks Israel. They do this all the time, relentlessly, reports and reports attacking Israel. But, as usual, at least 27 countries have signed a statement calling on the UN to end its long-standing, disproportionate scrutiny of Israel. The 27 countries include Canada, Italy, the UK, Austria, but no Australia. Why not? Australia has always joined with all like-minded countries to support Israel against the insidious obsession that the UN has with denigrating that country. But for the first time, Australia is not there on the list of supporters. This is a disgrace, as I've said repeatedly on this program. Labor, hard left Labor, socialist Labor are no friends of Israel, or many of them are not. Michael Danby, former Labor minister, joins us to discuss this. Michael, always great to see you. Australia not on the list. Why are we not supporting our ally Israel?
It's pathetic. The reason we're not doing it is it's a genuflection, a bowing down to Penny Wong's socialist left base. There are a whole lot of these minor issues like funding of the totally separate Palestinian refugee agency, UNRWA, that have been restored, that are all little bowing down to people like the obscure president of the Senate, Senator Sue Lyons, who's a hardline member of the socialist left. And her record, for all of you guys on the panel this morning, is on international affairs. No speeches on the Uyghur Muslims, no speeches on any other issue except Israel. This woman, a senator, the president of the Senate, the third-ranking person in Australia, has spoken 10 times on Israel, if you look back at her parliamentary record. Why? I mean, that is totally obscure for an Australian politician. And that shows you why Australia doesn't join the other nations. There'll be all kinds of excuses like there were last time. Oh, we issued a separate statement and we don't agree with it either. But, you know, the Palestinians continue with their pay-for-slay allocations of their budget. They continue to employ terrorists in the UNRWA organisation, and all of the other European countries demand that UNRWA stop putting anti-Semitic stuff in their children's school education materials, but not Australia. And the great Australian public don't notice this because it's not a 100% important issue in the life of the average Australian. So the socialist left get away with it.
This is Labor, Penny Wong's Labor, Albo's Labor, James.
And how much of this are they using all of the upset there's been in Israel lately over the Supreme Court and reforms over that? I keep hearing from the left that, oh, democracy is under threat in Israel, which seems like kind of a nonsense. And, you know, if we're going to be talking about Ukraine and things like that, surely we need to be talking about democracy in the Middle East and supporting that. Yes, Michael?
Well, I think good on the Israelis for having a good old bun fight over judicial reform. Just shows what a democracy they are. There aren't demonstrations, let alone gay pride parades in Amman or in Beirut or in Baghdad or even Cairo, because those people would be brutally suppressed. But look, the Israelis will work out their attitudes to whether the judges of the Supreme Court should appoint themselves or whether the Israeli government should have more of a say in who the judges of the Supreme Court are. That's a great argument for a democracy. But no action from Australia on this issue of the UN's obsession with Israel, so clearly pointed out, as you guys have, and by that group of countries that Australia should have been standing with. Canada, Germany, the United States, the United Kingdom, France. Where are we? Come on, Penny, lift your game.
Well, these countries are our allies and we're not standing with them. We have shown weakness here. What I want to understand, you're a Labor man, why is the Foreign Minister, why is Penny Wong kowtowing to Sue Lyons? Why is she getting her way instead of Penny Wong saying no this is the policy we're following, and, you know, we're not playing factional games here. We're not in our student days. We're going to do the same thing.
You'll never hear this from Patricia Karvelas or Virginia Trioli or the ABC gang that cover up for the current government. The current government has been relatively responsible on international affairs, particularly with a big issue affecting China. But it's a very different government than previous Labor governments. It's totally dominated by the Socialist left. So the internal logic of the Socialist left determine all of these issues at the side where the great Australian public are not that engaged. So they get away with all kinds of outrages in so many different areas because they're different than a normal Labor government. And I'm sorry to say it, this is one of the attitudes that they're pursuing. They'll do it the same at the national conference, where there'll be demand for immediate recognition of a Palestinian state, which is Bob and Kim Carr, not brothers, demands that will be voted on in August at the Brisbane National Conference.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you about that because Rita will look astonished with what I'm about to say, but I'm about to praise Dan Andrews for actually standing up for Israel and saying that it was the only democracy in the Middle East where they had gay rights and they supported gay rights. And in fact, there is a lot of truth in that. I want to get your viewpoint on the forthcoming National Labour Conference and how far they will go in their anti-Semitic, anti-Israel ideas. But two stories recently out of Israel, Michael. One was a young woman, a gay woman, an Arab woman who had sought refuge in northern Israel. Her brother, an Arab, is now being sought for having killed her. They believe the brother was responsible for killing the 18-year-old girl because of her sexuality. She'd sought to hide in Israel to get away from her Palestinian family. There's another case of a homosexual Arab given refuge in Israel who was kidnapped by unknown Arabs and beheaded. So Israel actually protects and looks after gays, even non-Israeli gays. Good on Dan Andrews for standing up for them. But this, of course, will be completely overlooked by the virulently anti-Israeli National Conference, correct? With Bob Carr and the likes insisting on recognition of Palestine.
It's not only that, this issue leads into bigger issues like AUKUS. Will the Socialist left, who will have a majority for the first time since the great 1955 Labor split, use their numbers to vote the government down on immediate recognition of a Palestinian state and opposition to AUKUS? Now, I think they'll be faced with a conflict of disloyalties. They'll dump their policy on AUKUS to support ALBO, because how can they not support their Prime Minister and their Foreign Minister and their gang who are basically running things? But they may have to throw a bit of red meat to the Socialist left, and one of those might be immediate recognition of a Palestinian state. As for Dan Andrews, great. It's very good that the Premier of Victoria has an issue which you support, Rowan. I'm sure he'll be happy with that.
He'll be cracking the bubbly, Michael, this evening.
but the point is, Dan Andrews, you own the Victorian Labor Party. You abolished it for 4 years. You reconstructed it so that 400 plus of the 600 delegates at last weekend's conference were from the Socialist left. A total reversal of the situation pre-COVID. And you know, don't sit on the sidelines in your hotel room and drink champers while the conference is going on. Go down there and try and discipline your Victorian Socialist left acolytes to vote with you on that Israel issue. It's not right for a leader to sort of sit on the sidelines and say, oh, well, you know, they're all off to be executed. It's not my business.
There you go. Michael Danby, always great to chat to you. You've got a plane to catch, so we'll let you go. Thank you so much for speaking to Outsiders. Always great to see you, mate.